Megalodon is a word that makes paleontologists' pulses quicken, directors' eyes light up, and ordinary people feel a chill down their spines. The largest shark to ever exist on Earth. A predator next to which a modern great white looks like a goldfish. A creature that ruled the oceans for 20 million years and vanished so suddenly that scientists still debate why. Hundreds of scientific articles have been written about Megalodon, dozens of films made, and tons of merchandise produced. But behind this pop culture noise hide facts that are more striking than any blockbuster because they are real. 5 facts. 5 reasons why Megalodon remains the most incredible predator in the history of life on Earth. Fact 1. We do not know what it looked like. This sounds absurd. Encyclopedias are written about Megalodon. Its image is in every textbook. Its life-size jaws stand in dozens of museums around the world. But the truth is that all these images and reconstructions are mostly guesswork. And here is why. A shark's skeleton consists not of bone, but of cartilage. Cartilage is a soft, flexible tissue that decomposes within a few years after the animal's death, leaving no fossils. When a shark dies, its body disintegrates, the cartilaginous skeleton dissolves, and all that remains of it is what was hard during its life. Teeth and sometimes vertebrae. That is all. No skull, no jawbones, no ribs, no spine in the usual sense. Teeth and vertebrae are all that Megalodon left us over 20 million years of existence. From these teeth, paleontologists tried to calculate the size of the animal. And here begins one of the longest scientific discussions in the history of paleontology. The first reconstruction of Megalodon jaws was made in 1909 by Bashford Dean, curator of the Department of Fishes at the American Museum of Natural History. He assembled a giant jaw model about 2 meters high, which an adult human could enter standing up. The photograph of Dean standing inside this jaw became one of the most iconic scientific images of the 20th century and simultaneously one of the biggest mistakes. Later, it turned out that Dean positioned the teeth incorrectly and greatly overestimated the dimensions. But the image of a giant open mouth that a person fits into was forever imprinted in mass culture. Modern estimates of Megalodon's size are based on the ratio between tooth size and body length in modern sharks. According to these calculations, an adult Megalodon reached from 15 to 18 meters in length, although some extrapolations give up to 20 meters. To understand the scale, this is the length of a school bus, a trailer, or 5 to 6 cars lined up in a row. Weight from 50 to 100 tons, which is comparable to the weight of a sperm whale or a small humpback whale. The open mouth of Megalodon had a diameter of about 3.5 meters, enough to swallow a large dolphin whole without chewing. And it was based on these teeth that paleontologists tried to reconstruct the animal's appearance. For a long time, the standard approach was scaling. We take a great white shark, increase it 3 to 4 times, and get a Megalodon. This logic seemed reasonable because Megalodon teeth outwardly look like great white teeth. Triangular, serrated along the edges, designed for cutting flesh. Based on this similarity, Megalodon was even assigned to the same genus Carcharodon as the white shark, and for decades it appeared in literature as Carcharodon megalodon. But in the last 20 years, this picture has radically changed. Comparative analysis of the teeth showed that the similarity between Megalodon and the white shark is superficial. The shape of the teeth, their internal structure, the character of the serrations. All this indicates that Megalodon belonged to a completely different family, Otodontidae, which separated from the line of the white shark more than 100 million years ago. The modern scientific name of Megalodon is Otodus megalodon. And this is not just a taxonomic formality. It means that Megalodon was not an overgrown great white shark. It was something completely different and most likely looked different. In 2022, a group of researchers from DePaul University and Swansea University published a three-dimensional reconstruction of Megalodon's body based on the only more or less complete set of vertebrae, a specimen from Belgium. The result surprised even specialists. Megalodon turned out to be not a slender torpedo-shaped predator similar to an enlarged white shark, but a massive, broad-bodied, almost barrel-shaped creature with a short snout and a disproportionately large head. In proportions, it more closely resembled not a white shark, but a whale shark, only, of course, with a completely different lifestyle. This reconstruction caused fierce debate. Some paleontologists accepted it, some criticized it, pointing to the limitations of the initial data. But the very fact that after 150 years of study we are still debating the basic body shape is the best proof of how little we know. Teeth, by the way, are a separate story. A megalodon tooth is not just a large shark tooth, it is an artifact that silences any skeptic. The length of one tooth is up to 18 centimeters. For comparison, the tooth of a great white shark is about 6 centimeters. A megalodon tooth is 3 times longer. It is the size of an adult man's palm. Its serrated edge is not a decorative element, but a highly effective cutting tool. Each serration works like a microsaw, slicing through flesh at the slightest movement of the jaw. Megalodon had about 270 teeth arranged in 5 rows. As they wore out, the front teeth fell out and were replaced by the back ones, a conveyor working continuously throughout its life. In one lifetime, a megalodon could produce and lose up to 20,000 teeth. That is why they are so common in the paleontological record. The world's oceans are littered with megalodon teeth like a beach with shells. They are found on all continents, from North Carolina to Australia, from Morocco to Japan. Fact 2. Megalodon was significantly warmer than the ocean in which it swam. This discovery, made in 2023, overturned ideas about the physiology of ancient sharks. A group of scientists from the University of California, Los Angeles, and the Max Planck Institute used a method that sounds like science fiction, an isotope thermometer. The idea is that the ratio of heavy and light isotopes of oxygen and carbon in tooth enamel depends on the animal's body temperature at the moment of tooth formation. By measuring this ratio in fossil megalodon teeth, one can calculate its body temperature during life. Result: Megalodon's body temperature was approximately 35 to 40 degrees Celsius. This is 7 to 8 degrees higher than the surrounding water and significantly higher than any modern shark. For comparison, the great white shark, one of the few modern sharks capable of maintaining a body temperature higher than the water temperature, heats itself by about 5 to 7 degrees. Megalodon, judging by the data, was even warmer. In fact, its body temperature approached the body temperature of mammals. What does this mean? It means that Megalodon was an endotherm, or at least a very advanced mesotherm, an animal that actively produced heat and maintained a stable body temperature regardless of the environment. This gave it a colossal advantage. Warm muscles contract faster and more powerfully. A warm brain processes information more efficiently. A warm body allows hunting in cold waters where cold-blooded predators do not venture. Megalodon could pursue prey from the tropics to subpolar latitudes without losing efficiency. It was a universal predator, a killing machine operating in any temperature regime. High body temperature also had another consequence: speed. Modern models based on body hydrodynamics and the power of warm muscles estimate Megalodon's cruising speed at about 5 kilometers per hour. This is a giant's leisurely stroll, but during an attack, it could accelerate to 30 to 35 kilometers per hour, enough to catch up with most whales whose cruising speed is 4 to 8 kilometers per hour. For comparison, a great white shark reaches speeds of up to 40 kilometers per hour, but it is 3 to 4 times shorter and 20 to 30 times lighter than Megalodon. A Megalodon accelerating to 35 kilometers per hour is like a freight train flying through the water. The impact momentum upon collision with such a mass at such a speed was so powerful that one ramming blow with the snout could stun or even kill a small whale even before the jaws came into play. But this superpower also had a dark side, and it was precisely this that perhaps destroyed it. Maintaining a high body temperature requires a huge amount of energy. Megalodon had to eat a lot and constantly. According to calculations, an adult megalodon 15 to 16 meters long consumed a daily amount of calories equivalent to one adult dolphin or a significant part of a young whale every day. If prey became insufficient due to climate change, whale migration, or competition, Megalodon found itself trapped. Its own body demanded energy that it could not obtain. Warm-bloodedness, which made it the king of the ocean, became its Achilles heel. Fact 3. Megalodon hunted whales. And we have direct evidence of this. Not assumptions, not models, not extrapolations, but physical clues. Around the world, paleontologists find fossil whale bones with characteristic damage. Deep parallel grooves on ribs, shoulder blades, and vertebrae, perfectly matching in width and distance with the serrations on megalodon teeth. Some bones bear traces of healing. This means the whale survived the attack and lived after it. Others do not. The blow was fatal. In 2021, a group of researchers from the University of Zurich created a computer model of a megalodon bite using data on jaw size, muscle mass, and tooth mechanics. Result: Megalodon's bite force was from 182,000 to 276,000 newtons. This is about 10 times more powerful than the bite of a Tyrannosaurus rex and 35 to 40 times more powerful than the bite of a great white shark. With such force, Megalodon could crush an adult whale's chest with one squeeze of the jaws, literally breaking ribs and crushing internal organs without biting through the skin, but simply crushing the body like an aluminum can. But the most interesting thing is not the strength, but the strategy. Analysis of damage on fossil bones shows that Megalodon purposefully attacked certain parts of the prey's body. Bite marks were found on tail fin bones and shoulder girdles, indicating that the predator first immobilized the victim by biting off or damaging the fins, and then delivered a fatal blow to the chest area. This is not the mindless attack of a hungry predator. It is a thought-out tactic requiring the ability to assess the victim's anatomy and choose the optimal impact point. Modern great white sharks use a similar strategy when hunting seals. The first blow is immobilizing, the second is finishing. Megalodon, judging by fossil data, did the same thing, only its seals were whales the size of a bus. There were also finds of another kind. In the state of North Carolina, paleontologists discovered a cluster of bones of a young baleen whale. Practically a whole skeleton with dozens of megalodon tooth marks on every major bone. Next to the bones lay several of the predator's fallen teeth. This find was interpreted as a feeding site. Megalodon killed the whale, dragged it to the bottom, and methodically ate the carcass, losing teeth in the process. Just as modern sharks lose teeth when feeding, a paleontological crime scene frozen in stone for millions of years. Fact 4. Megalodon was incredibly widespread and lived in practically all the planet's oceans. Megalodon teeth have been found on all continents, including Antarctica, from the coast of North Carolina to the Atacama Desert in Chile, from the Mediterranean to Japan, from Australia to the coast of Africa. Megalodon was everywhere. This makes it one of the most cosmopolitan predators in history. No other marine predator of comparable size had such a global distribution. But Megalodon's distribution was not accidental. Analysis of find locations shows a clear pattern. The vast majority of teeth, especially small ones belonging to young individuals, were found in shallow coastal zones of tropical and subtropical seas. This led scientists to the idea of megalodon nurseries in coastal waters, where females gave birth and where juveniles spent their first years of life, feeding on small fish and small marine mammals. Warm, shallow water provided the optimal temperature for growth, and an abundance of food provided rapid weight gain. As they matured, young megalodons moved into the open ocean and switched to larger prey, whales. In 2020, an international group of scientists identified 5 such nurseries around the world: in Panama, on the east coast of the United States, in Spain, on the Canary Islands, and in Peru. All of them were located in shallow bays with warm water and a rich food base. One of the most impressive pieces of evidence for the existence of nurseries was found in Panama. In the Gatun Formation, a geological layer about 10 million years old, paleontologists discovered an abnormally high concentration of small megalodon teeth. The size of the teeth indicated young individuals 2 to 6 meters long, infants and teenagers by the species standards. Nearby were found bones of small fish and small marine mammals, exactly the set of prey that would be expected in a nursery. The geological context indicated a shallow tropical bay protected from ocean currents, ideal nurseries for young predators. When the Isthmus of Panama began to rise, cutting off the connection between the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean, these bays disappeared, and with them, megalodons' nurseries vanished. When the climate began to change in the late Miocene and Pliocene, oceans cooled, sea levels changed, and coastlines were rearranged, these nurseries began to disappear, warm shallows shrank, and young megalodons had nowhere to grow. The loss of nurseries could have been one of the key factors in extinction. Without protected places to raise offspring, the population could not compensate for losses. Fact 5 is the most provocative. Why did Megalodon go extinct? This question remains one of the hottest in paleontology, and there is no single answer to it. But there are several hypotheses, each supported by data, and together they paint a picture of a perfect storm that destroyed the largest predator in the history of the oceans. Megalodon went extinct about 3.6 million years ago in the Pliocene. This was a time of global climate change. The Earth was entering a cycle of ice ages, oceans were cooling, and sea levels were fluctuating. For an animal that depended on warm water for both hunting and reproduction, this was a catastrophe. Tropical and subtropical zones shrank, cold waters advanced from the poles, and Megalodon had less and less space to live. But climate is not the only factor. Around the same time, 2 events occurred that hit Megalodon from another side. First, the evolution of whales. Baleen whales, Megalodon's main prey, began to migrate to polar waters, following the shift of high productivity zones, areas of the ocean rich in plankton and krill. Polar waters were too cold for Megalodon. Even with its advanced thermoregulation, the temperature of Arctic seas was below the minimum allowable. Prey went where the predator could not follow. Second, the appearance of a competitor. About 3 to 4 million years ago, the great white shark, Carcharodon carcharias, began to dominate the oceans. It was smaller than Megalodon, but faster, more maneuverable, and required significantly less food to survive. In conditions of a shrinking food base, this gave it a decisive advantage. The white shark did not compete with Megalodon for large prey. It competed with young megalodons for small prey. A young megalodon, not yet grown enough to hunt whales, fed on the same things as the white shark: seals, small dolphins, large fish. And in this competition, the white shark won because it was more economical. Megalodon lost not in strength, but in efficiency. There is also a third hypothesis that is gaining popularity: a supernova star. In 2018, a group of astrophysicists from the University of Kansas suggested that a nearby supernova explosion about 2.5 million years ago, confirmed by the presence of the iron-60 isotope in oceanic sediments, caused a surge of cosmic radiation that could increase the frequency of mutations and cancers in large marine animals. The larger the animal, the more cells in its body, and the higher the probability of a carcinogenic mutation. Megalodon, with its 15-meter body and billions of cells, would be especially vulnerable. This hypothesis is controversial and there is no direct evidence, but it elegantly explains why specifically the largest species went extinct while smaller ones survived. Most likely, the truth lies in a combination of all factors. Climate cooling destroyed Megalodon's nurseries. Whale migration to polar waters deprived it of its main prey. Competition with the white shark undermined the survival of the young. Perhaps cosmic radiation added the final touch. Megalodon was not killed by one bullet, it was killed by 1,000 cuts. Each of the factors individually might not have been fatal, but together they created conditions in which the largest predator in history was not viable. Its own greatness, giant size, high metabolism, dependence on warm waters and large prey turned from an advantage into a sentence. And finally, the question everyone asks, could Megalodon be alive? Science's answer is clear and uncompromising. No. And here is why. Megalodon was a warm-blooded predator that needed a colossal amount of food. It could not hide in the depths of the ocean. It is too cold there, too little food, and the pressure is incompatible with the physiology of a large, active shark. It could not unnoticedly hunt whales near the surface. Modern observation methods, from satellites to acoustic networks, would have recorded any large marine animal. Its teeth, which it lost by the thousands during its life, would be found on modern beaches. But the most recent Megalodon teeth in the geological record date back about 3.5 million years. In the last 3.5 million years, not a single tooth, not one. The ocean is huge, but it is not infinite, and hiding a population of several hundred 15-meter predators in it, each of which devours hundreds of kilograms of meat daily, is impossible. Sometimes people refer to the coelacanth, a living fossil, a fish thought to have been extinct 65 million years ago until a living specimen was caught off the coast of South Africa in 1938. If a coelacanth could hide for 65 million years, why not Megalodon? The difference is in scale. The coelacanth is a fish about 1.5 meters long, living at depths from 100 to 400 meters, feeding on small prey and leaving practically no traces on the surface. Megalodon is a 15-meter predator hunting near the surface for the largest marine mammals and losing thousands of teeth in its life. Comparing them is like comparing a mouse living in a crack in the wall with a rhinoceros living in your living room. A mouse can hide, a rhinoceros cannot. Megalodon is dead. This is a scientific fact confirmed by the paleontological record, ecological modeling, and elementary logic. But what it left behind, thousands of teeth, bitten whale bones, nurseries in tropical bays, and one of the most exciting mysteries of extinction, all this makes it immortal in another sense. Megalodon is not just an extinct shark. It is a reminder of what a predator can be when nature removes all limits. 20 meters of muscle, teeth, and fury, controlled by a brain with a temperature of 35 degrees in an ocean where it had no equals. For 20 million years, it was the summit, absolute, undisputed, unreachable. And then the ocean changed, and the summit turned out to be too high to hold on. There is a lesson in this that goes far beyond paleontology. Megalodon was the ideal predator for its world, but not for every world. When conditions changed, everything that made it great, size, metabolism, specialization on large prey, turned against it. It was too big to be flexible, too hungry to survive hunger, too warm to live in a cooling ocean. Nature generously rewarded it, and with this same generosity killed it. We find its teeth on beaches all over the world, polished by waves, darkened by millions of years in sedimentary rocks, heavy as lead. Each such tooth is a calling card of a creature that is no more. A creature that swam in the oceans when our ancestors were not yet on the planet, and which disappeared long before the first human looked at the sea. But the teeth remain. They lie in the sand and in museum showcases, and they tell us one simple thing. The ocean remembers its kings, even those who have long been gone.